A prophecy promised Princess Mia to the northern beast. Her father answered with 3 duels and a poisoned blade. But beneath the monster's skin was Robert, the mysterious stranger Mia had already begun to trust. When she discovered the truth, she stopped the final blow and chose him. They were married before sunset, and the northern forest carried her to his cursed castle. By day, Robert remained a beast. By night, he returned to her. And for 3 nights, Mia believed love might be enough. It wasn't. For 3 nights, Mia allowed herself to believe the northern castle might, in time, become a home. It was cold, and nothing in its long corridors welcomed her. Still, Robert returned every night, and that was enough. By day, the castle belonged to silence. Its halls were too broad, its windows too cold, and every sound traveled too far. Robert was always gone before dawn. Mia would wake to the mattress shifting beside her, the soft brush of cloth, and his mouth resting for a moment against her hair. Then the door closed, and by the time she opened her eyes, he was gone. He returned only after sunset, already human. Snow clung to his cloak. His hands were cold, and his eyes held the winter gray she remembered from her father's palace. The nights were all she had of him. That evening, he showed her the parts of the castle she might forgive. He avoided the great hall and the old portraits whose painted eyes followed too closely, choosing smaller, quieter rooms, a library with a low fire, a narrow window overlooking the frozen river, and a music room where a harp stood untouched even though every string remained perfectly in tune. Mia ran her fingers over the carved wood. The castle is less frightening at night. Robert glanced toward the shadows. I believe that may be the first compliment it has ever received. I did not say it was a compliment. I will take it. The castle has very few. She laughed before she could stop herself. Robert looked at her then, briefly, carefully, but long enough for her to notice. Because she noticed, she was the first to look away. For a moment, the room almost felt safe. Then Mia saw the northern forest beyond the window, its black trees rising from white snow without any path she could follow. "Is that where you go?" she asked. Robert did not need her to explain. "Yes. Because you do not want me to see you during the day." His silence answered for him. Mia turned from the window. "Robert, I have already seen you. I saw you in the arena. I saw the beast." "You saw the curse." "I saw you." He looked away, and somehow that hurt more than an argument would have. "I do not want that to be how your mornings begin," he said. "And I do not want them to begin with an empty room." Neither of them spoke. Then Mia stepped closer. "Stay tomorrow." His expression shifted, only slightly, but she saw it. "Mia." "It does not frighten me." "It frightens me." She had no answer for that. Robert took her hand with the caution of someone who still expected permission to be withdrawn. "Trust me," he said. "Please. Soon this will be over." "How?" His fingers tightened around hers. "Soon." "That is not an answer." "I know." "Then tell me what has to happen." He opened his mouth, but no sound came. Mia watched the color leave his face. His breath caught, and his grip closed painfully around her hand, not as a warning, but because something inside him had begun to hurt. Something was stopping him. She understood that, and she hated having to understand. "Robert." He released her hand slowly. "I cannot." There it was again, the wall between them, built from something that was neither refusal nor choice, only a place she could not reach. Mia nodded because he was already hurting, and she could not ask again without making it worse. Before dawn, he kissed her forehead and left for the forest. Mia remained awake after the door closed, troubled less by what he became than by everything he could not tell her. The nights belonged to them. The days still belonged to the curse. The old woman came while Robert was gone. Mia saw her from an upper window, a small, dark figure crossing the snow, a basket in one hand and a walking stick in the other. The northern gate stood open behind her, though no one had opened it. Mia met her in the courtyard. "Who are you?" The old woman offered a shallow bow. "A healer. I know the wounds of the north. There is no one sick in this castle." The woman looked toward the enormous tracks pressed into the snow. They led from the courtyard into the forest. "Then I will leave this in case I am mistaken." She took a small vial from her basket. Inside, dark green liquid moved like melted moss. "For his wounds," she said. "Give it to him after sunset, never before." Mia did not take it. "How do you know he is wounded?" "In the north, everything bleeds more slowly." The woman held the bottle out again. "But it bleeds." Again, it was not an answer. Mia took the vial anyway. The old woman was already looking toward the forest. "Is that where he goes each morning?" "That is not your concern." "No," she leaned on her stick. "It is his pain." Mia went still. The woman touched the snow with her stick. "He is ashamed for you to see him that way." "He has no reason to be." Shame rarely asks for reasons. Wind crossed the courtyard, moving her cloak and carrying dried herbs and cold smoke. "He says everything will be all right soon," Mia said. "Does he tell you how?" Mia's silence was enough. The old woman nodded once. "He cannot tell you, can he?" Mia looked at her more carefully. "What do you know about the curse?" "Enough to know that not every secret is chosen. Some are locked in the throat." She remembered Robert trying to speak. The pain, his stopped breath, the words that could not pass his lips. Then why does he hide everything else? The woman studied her. "Perhaps he knows that if you understood the curse, you would not wait so calmly." The vial felt heavier in Mia's hand. "What does that mean?" "It means the beast takes him every morning." The old woman lowered her voice. "Every evening it gives the man back. For now. He will come back. Tonight, perhaps." Mia did not move. The woman did not seem pleased to frighten her. That made the warning harder to dismiss. "And tomorrow?" she asked. "What of the morning after that? How many times can the curse take his body before it begins to take everything else?" "No. One day the man may not return." Mia wanted to call her a liar, but Robert could not tell her the truth. That was the worst part. The old woman sighed. "He can be helped." Mia stepped closer. "How?" The woman drew a fine silver-white thread from her sleeve, wound around a bone spool. It glowed faintly, though not from the sun. Cold moved from it into the air between them. "When he falls asleep in his human form," the woman said, "tie this around his wrist before dawn." Mia stared at the thread. "What will it do?" "It will hold him. It will hold his human shape and leave the beast outside." "And if it hurts him?" "Then remove it." "That simple?" A sad smile touched the woman's mouth. "Nothing here is simple, Your Highness. Waiting is not safe either." She placed the spool in Mia's palm. The thread weighed almost nothing, yet Mia's hand dropped slightly beneath it. "Why did he not tell me?" "Ask him." "You know he cannot answer." "Yes." The woman's smile softened into something close enough to pity that Mia disliked it at once. "That is why I came." She turned toward the open gate. "Wait, who are you?" A gust lifted snow between them. Someone who has seen what remains when a person waits too long. Then she passed through the gate. This time the doors swung shut behind her without anyone touching them. Mia stood alone in the courtyard, the vial in one hand and the silver thread in the other. Wind moved out of the northern forest, already blurring the edges of Robert's tracks. Behind the gate, Robert's path vanished as though the forest were carefully erasing him. That night, Mia did not sleep. Robert fell asleep shortly before dawn, exhausted by pain he kept pretending was nothing. The fire had burned low. Beyond the windows the sky had begun to gray. Mia sat beside him with the thread in her hand. It looked light and harmless. That frightened her more than if it had looked cruel. Objects meant for harm should have the decency to announce themselves, she thought. This one waited in her palm like a promise. Robert breathed evenly. One hand lay uncovered on the blanket, warm and human. The old woman's warning returned to her. One day, the man may not return. Mia closed her eyes. "Forgive me," she whispered. Then she tied the thread around his wrist. For one moment, nothing happened. Robert's eyes snapped open in terror. "Mia!" She snatched her hands away. "I only wanted—" "What did you do?" He was not angry. That made his fear worse. The thread flashed around his wrist. Its silver light darkened, as if ink had entered moonlight. Black lines spread beneath Robert's skin and climbed his arm. He tried to tear the thread away. He could not. Mia reached for the knot. "I will take it off. Do not touch it." She froze. Robert tried to stand. His knees buckled. Something heavy and silent passed through the room. It was not wind. It was a command. One by one, the candles went dark. The thread unwound itself from his wrist and lengthened. It wrapped around his arm, chest, and throat. It became a thin black chain, wet with shadow. "No," Mia whispered. "No, no, no." Robert looked at her without blame. His understanding hurt more than anger could have. "Only one dawn remained," he managed to say. The words came through clenched teeth, almost lost beneath the sound of the chain. Then the curse took him. His body bent forward. White fur spread across his skin. His fingers became claws, and his voice tore into a low, painful roar. Mia did not retreat. When the beast lifted his head, Robert remained inside his eyes, frightened and powerless. The chain drew tight around his neck. Something beyond the room pulled. He dug his claws into the stone, but whatever held the chain was stronger. "Robert!" Mia ran after him as he was dragged into the corridor and down the stairs. He moved like a wounded animal resisting its own body, not a monster pursuing prey. Doors burst open before him, and the castle groaned around them. By the time they reached the courtyard, pale dawn had spread across the snow. The old woman stood beside the northern gate. She did not look frail now. She stood straight, her stick gone. Her gray cloak opened like a wing over a gown black as wet earth. In one hand, she held the end of the chain. Mia stopped. "You." The woman smiled, not kindly this time. "I told you the truth, princess. Not all of it, but enough." The beast growled. The sound broke into pain when the witch tightened her grip. "Let him go!" Mia lunged forward. Snow rose like a wall and hurled her back. She landed hard on her knees. The witch tilted her head. He was almost free. He needed one more dawn, but you did not trust him. Mia could not seem to draw breath. "I did not know." "Of course you did not." The witch's smile grew colder. "That is why fear is so much more useful than hatred." The beast turned toward Mia. For a heartbeat, the chain went slack. He took one step toward her. The witch pulled. Robert fell into the snow. Mia screamed his name and reached for him. Black roots tore out of the earth, wrapping around his paws, his chest, and the chain. Behind the northern gate, the forest opened like a mouth. The darkness between the trees seemed to breathe. The witch stepped backward into the dark. "Remember this, bride," she said. "Curses feed best on love that has not learned how to wait." Then she drew the chain toward her. The beast was dragged away, bound by the thread Mia had tied. The last thing she saw was his gaze, human, terrified, still his, still turned toward her. Then the forest closed. The chain vanished. Snow settled at last over the place where he had been. Mia remained before the gate, blood on her palms and a truth she could not undo. She had tried to save Robert. She had given him back to the curse. The northern gate remained open long after the forest swallowed him. Snow covered the courtyard, the broken tracks, and the place where Mia had fallen. She stayed until the cold settled in her bones. The first evening, she waited by the gate. The second, she lit candles where they had eaten together. The third, she left the bedroom door open. If Robert found his way back, she could not bear the thought of him arriving to a locked castle. Each evening, when the sun disappeared behind the forest, Mia stood at the window and searched the trees. Sometimes she thought she saw movement. Sometimes a howl carried over the snow, and she ran into the courtyard with his name already leaving her mouth. The forest answered with snow, darkness, and silence. It was a patient silence, the kind that let hope exhaust itself without ever offering the mercy of an answer. On the 7th morning, she did not light the fire. She stood beside the bed and looked at the place where Robert had slept on his last night. A half-burned candle remained on the table beside his empty cup and the vial the old woman had given her. The dark green liquid gleamed like something alive. Mia picked up the bottle and stared at it. Then she threw it into the fireplace as hard as she could. The glass shattered. The flames hissed and burned green for a single heartbeat. Mia stepped back, breathing hard. Then she remembered where everything had begun, a forbidden room and a book that had spoken her future before she understood it. By noon, she was riding south. The road to her father's palace took half a day. Snow thinned along the road. The towers rose beyond the bare trees, and the gates opened before she reached them. Her father came out onto the steps. At the sight of him, Mia's last strength gave way. She dismounted too quickly, nearly stumbled, and kept going. "Father," the word broke in her mouth. He came down to meet her, and Mia threw herself into his arms. His arms closed around her with the same certainty they had when she was a child, before prophecy had made strangers of them. Only then did she cry. In the northern castle she had wept silently, teeth clenched, as if someone might hear. Now she cried like a daughter who had come home too late. Her father held her and asked nothing. Snow melted on her cloak while her hands shook, and he waited until she could breathe. When she finally raised her face, her voice was raw. "I need the book." The round room was quieter than Mia remembered. Dust covered the floor, empty shelves and candlestands no one had lit in years. Heavy gray cloths covered the mirrors. The curtains were drawn, yet the room held a pale silver light. At its center stood the round table. The book lay upon it. Mia moved toward it, but her father caught her hand. "Do not." She kept her eyes on the table. "I need to know where he is." "That book does not tell the truth in order to help." "It told the truth about Robert." "It told the truth about the beast." His voice was quiet but firm. "And look what all of us did with those words." Mia turned to him. He seemed older than he had on the palace steps. He did not look like a king trying to protect his daughter. He looked like a man facing his own mistake again. "Aveline did not give her life to this room for nothing," he said. "She hid the book because she knew what it does to people. Please, Mia, do not listen to it." Aveline's name lingered between them like a warning. Mia looked at the book. Its dark cover did not move or call to her. It did not threaten. It waited. "I have already listened to everyone else," Mia said. "My father, the prophecy, my fear, the old woman." She eased her hand from his. "Now I will hear what the book has to say." Her father did not try to stop her again. Mia laid her palm on the cover. The book opened. Its pages turned slowly, as if they were years, then stopped on a blank sheet. Mia leaned over it. "Where is Robert?" Thin black lines of ink appeared. "When the human road ends, the bride must walk with iron." Mia gripped the edge of the table. "No, do not give me riddles. Tell me where he is." The page trembled, and more words formed beneath the first. "Wear them until the road ends. Do not stop when the world tears. Do not remove them until moonlight speaks your name." Something rustled behind her. One cloth had slipped from the wall and lay on the floor like a fallen shadow. Behind it stood a tall mirror framed in tarnished silver. The reflection held the room, table, book, and her father by the door. It also held a pair of shoes that did not exist anywhere else. They were dark leather, soft and worn as if shaped by a long road. Fine iron threads ran through the seams, circled the soles, and disappeared into the laces. They did not look heavy, they looked patient. Mia turned toward where they should have been. There was nothing there. When she looked again, the shoes remained in the reflection, closer now. Her father took a step forward. Mia. Mia had already moved toward the glass. The mirror darkened. Her reflection vanished. For a moment, she saw a narrow path through snow and black trees. Then the glass rang softly, as if someone had knocked from the other side. The sound was small, but in the room it carried the intimacy of a secret being admitted. Mia did not reach for the mirror. She only waited. Something landed quietly on the dusty floor behind her. The shoes were real now. Dark leather threaded with iron. For an instant the metal shone like stars beneath black water. Mia knelt and lifted them. The leather felt cold in her hands. The iron was not decoration. It was woven so deeply the shoes seemed built around it. "This is not an answer," her father whispered. Mia looked at the book. The page was blank. "No," she said, drawing the shoes against her chest. "It is a road." Mia put on the shoes before leaving the round room. The leather was cold but soft. The iron threads flashed along the seams, then tightened around her feet as if they recognized her. Her father walked her to the gates. "At least take a horse." Mia shook her head. The book had told her to walk. This time she would not break the rule. She left before sunset and turned north. For the first few miles, the shoes did not hurt. Then the snow deepened, the trees thickened, and the road behind her vanished. When Mia looked back, she could no longer see the palace or even her own footprints. There was only white and black forest. The iron threads grew heavy, first like tiredness, then like stones tied to her feet. Mia kept walking. By the time the moon cleared the trees, thin red marks trailed behind her through the snow. She clenched her teeth and did not look down. "Do not remove them until moonlight speaks your name." The road ended shortly before midnight. There was no river, cliff, or gate. Only a snow-covered clearing remained, where the air looked worn thin and almost transparent. "I do not know where to go," Mia whispered. The shoes tightened. She took one more step. Snow creaked beneath her, but the sound arrived a moment too late. The trees blurred. The moon swelled, huge and near, while every shadow leaned in the wrong direction. Then the air before her split open with the quiet sound of cloth being slowly torn. Beyond it stood pale trees and silver grass under a sky where the stars hung much too low. Mia stepped back. The iron cut into her skin. "Do not stop when the world tears." She pressed a hand to her chest and stepped through. The snow and cold vanished. For one moment there was nothing beneath her. Then she fell onto soft silver grass. The sky above her was not the sky she knew. Behind her, the tear closed. The human world was gone. Figures appeared between the trees, tall and silent, dressed in moonlight, ink, and snow. She did not know whether they had come to help her or take her. The stars above them shone with the cold attention of eyes that never closed. Either way, she had reached the place, beyond the human road. The figures did not approach at once. They watched from among the pale trees as someone might watch an injured bird fallen through a window. Cautious, curious, unsure whether kindness would be wise. Mia tried again to stand. The shoes dragged her down. Iron tightened around her feet until she nearly cried out. One of the figures stepped forward. She looked like a woman until one looked closely. Her hair was dark as night water, and her clothes were gray and silver. Her ears tapered to delicate points. Up close, her face held the unsettling stillness of a portrait, except for her eyes, which measured Mia with concern. She moved so quietly that the grass seemed to bend before her foot arrived. "Do not move," she said. Her voice was not cruel. It was simply used to being obeyed. Mia raised her head. "Where am I?" The woman looked first at the shoes, then at the closed air behind Mia. Farther than a human should be. The others came closer, tall and watchful. Their pointed ears hid beneath pale hair or hoods, or shone with silver cuffs and moonstones. None looked kind, but none raised a weapon. Their restraint did not comfort Mia. It only told her they had not yet decided what she was. The woman knelt and touched an iron thread. It hissed beneath her fingers. "Who gave you these shoes?" Mia swallowed. "A book." The Fae stirred only slightly, yet the air grew colder. The woman looked into Mia's face. "What book?" Mia almost laughed, though she had no strength for it. "The one that started everything." For a moment the woman said nothing. Then moonlight thickened between the trees and covered the shoes. A whisper emerged from the pale glow. "Mia." The iron loosened. The shoes could be removed. Mia could not tell whether this was mercy or another rule completed. When the woman untied the laces, pain hit so sharply that the world tilted. She would have fallen if the stranger had not caught her. "I am Nimia," the woman said, "of the Moon Court." "The Moon Court," Mia repeated. Then she remembered why she had walked. Robert. She grabbed Nimia's hand. "I am searching for my husband. They called him the Northern Beast, but his true name is Robert. A witch took him through the forest." Her voice cracked. "Please, tell me you know where he is." Nimia did not pull away, though her face changed. Not enough for an answer, but enough to deny hope. "I do not know that name." Nimia spoke carefully, as though the wrong kindness might break something neither of them could repair. Mia closed her eyes. "No, but I know the scent of an old vow, and I know roads that books should never open." Nimia glanced toward the others. She must be brought to the court. One of them spoke softly. "To Oriel?" The name passed through the trees like wind moving over water. Nimia nodded. "To Oriel." Mia heard the name but could not hold it. Her strength was going too quickly. The sky tilted and the low stars blurred together. Nimia held her more carefully. "The road of the iron shoes takes more than humans have the right to give." "I do not care," Mia whispered. "Help me find him." "We will try." It was not a promise, but it was more than she had. Nimia began to lift her, then stopped. Her fingers settled against Mia's wrist. The Fae woman listened, not to her words, but to her pulse. Mia watched her through the haze. "What is it?" Nimia did not answer immediately. For the first time, something almost human softened her face. "You did not walk alone," she said. Mia stared at her without understanding. Nimia placed one hand gently against Mia's stomach. She did not press or take. She only asked, there is a second heart inside you. The world became still. The trees, fae, and foreign sky receded, leaving only the impossible thought. Fragile, terrifying, alive. Mia laid her hand over Nimia's. Robert. His name did not break this time. It came softly, almost like a prayer. The tears came again, but they felt different. Guilt and loss remained. Yet beneath them was something small that could not save her, Robert, or undo her choice. But it could keep her alive. Nimia drew Mia's cloak more securely around her shoulders and helped her to her feet. Come, she said. The moon court does not refuse shelter to a lost mother. Mia let Nimia guide her between the pale trees. Behind her, the human world was closed. Ahead waited a court she did not know. Robert remained lost somewhere beyond names, curses, and doors she had not yet learned to open. For the first time in 7 days, Mia was not entirely alone. Moonlight fell over the silver grass. She pressed one hand to her stomach and kept walking.